be your host today as we look at kitchen design. We're going to go through and insert and create the kitchen that you see on my screen right now. We're going to recreate that and show you how to customize different items as well. Once we're done the design, we're going to open up our chat panel where we can answer questions that you have about kitchen design. Following the entire broadcast, we will be emailing you out a booklet that will go over all the printed information about kitchen design so you can read about it as well. So let's get started and redesigning this kitchen. So I'm going to pop my screen down into a 2D view so you can see that on the left I have the kitchen that we were just looking at, and here on the right we're going to recreate it over here. So I'm going to zoom in on the one we're going to recreate. To create a kitchen and put in our cabinetry, we go to the Interiors tab. And underneath the Interiors tab, the very first tool that you see there is Cabinets. And when you click on Cabinets, in the catalog panel to the right, you'll find all different styles and shapes and materials of different cabinets that are available that you can insert. And all of those can be customized. So if there's particular materials that you're using and you don't see them reflected in any of the catalog elements that are there, you can change them and add to them just by selecting one of the ones that are there already and telling it that you want to add a new element in or copy one that's close to what you want and then just tweaking the information that's available there. So by adding in and copying this particular cabinet, we can create a brand new style of cabinet from it. So we know that this cabinet right now is type 5. So it has 2 drawers and 2 doors. But if we wanted to make this into a bank of drawer units or just into 2 doors instead of drawers, we can click on the different type. When we do that, we can then edit the information pertaining to that. This is 3 foot wide by 3 foot tall, and it's 2 foot deep. Any of these items can be customized and changed. I can tell it that I want it to be a 4 drawers. Now, looking at our picture here, you can see that it's a little bit off, and I'm going to cover that as well. The picture that we're using for that drawer front is a custom picture. So I'll show you how you can change that to be exactly what you need. I'll change this back here to be 3 drawers. And you can see it still isn't really changing that. I'm going to go to the leaf. You can see that it's using just a flat leaf, but it's anything but looking flat here. That's because under our Appearance tab, when we're looking at the drawer units, we can see that it's using a very particular picture, this picture right here. And it's repeating that picture as many times as it can. That's through this mapping option right here. So what we have to do is tell it how tall this is and how wide it is and each drawer unit so that it knows how to map that picture. So we told it that this was 3 foot tall, so we know that each drawer unit is going to be 1 foot, and we know it's 3 feet wide. So when we map that, we need it to tell it that characteristic of it, so that picture looks correct on the front of this drawer. So I'm going to click on Mapping, and then I'm overriding the original size of that picture, and I'm going to tell it that the height is 1 foot, and the width of it is 3 feet. And then we have this positioning right here. And this positioning allows me to move that picture up and down as I need to make sure that it's on the cabinet front as I need it to. And then from there, I can move it left or right. So I have the look of the drawer units, and I've remapped the size of that cabinet face to fit onto it. Now, you can see that when I put it as 1 foot, that 1 foot is actually coming right from the base all the way up to be 3 feet. So it's not quite 1 foot per drawer. So I'll bring that back to 10 inches. And then we can reposition it so that it looks like it's being mapped correctly on each one of these drawer fronts. Okay, so you can see how you can customize the look of the material to fit the drawers and the doors, and I can keep changing that as I need to. So we've taken a custom picture for the drawers, and then we resize them to be our new unit so that it fits correctly on it. So if you've ever had a kitchen that you've created in the software and thought, well, that picture doesn't look correct, it's not repeating itself correctly, it's right here, the mapping. So I grabbed the drawers and looked at the material, and then I changed the size to match in the size of that new cabinet that we chose. So I'll put this in as antique white, 36-inch base with 3 drawers. And this will be a new cabinet that is now available to me in my catalog. And you can see it's been added in there, and I can add that in to my model as I need to. When I'm adding in cabinets, one thing is very, very important to use. See how I'm moving my cursor over top of the walls right now? And it's allowing me to position this cabinet right in the middle of that wall. I want to draw your attention down to the lower right-hand corner of my screen where we see the word collision. You can see it's grayed out. As soon as I click on collision, it turns on. Now you can see that I can't move this cabinet onto the wall. It's stopping itself, and it's changing its direction as I move around to different walls. Collision adds intelligence to each of the objects. So this cabinet knows that the back of it needs to be up against a wall, so it'll reorientate itself as I move from wall to wall, and it also knows that it can't overlap a wall. So it'll position itself nicely up against the wall and up against other cabinets as well. So when you're designing your kitchen, always make sure that collision is turned on. I'm also going to turn on object snap. So as I insert one cabinet, I'll put it against this wall, it'll automatically snap to the next one as I'm putting them in. So that's object snap, so one object can snap to the next one as well. So I'll delete those out. When we're putting in our cabinets then and looking at the sample that it had drawn for us, the sample kitchen came from this corner right here. It came down, around, and up this side right here, and then it had a island in the middle. So each one of those cabinets could be individually inserted, just like I grabbed that antique white 36-inch base. I could insert individually all of those cabinets, or I can take advantage and use the Kitchen Builder Wizard. And that's found under our Building tab. And under the Building tab, you'll see the different wizards, clicking on that tool, and I'm going to go down to the Kitchen Builder. When I'm using the Kitchen Designer, the first screen that comes up is just a welcome screen telling you how to get started. The next screen wants you to choose a generic style of the kitchen that you're using and going to be designing. Is it an L-shaped, a galley, or a U-shape? Once it's inserted, we can deviate from that style and add in extended legs maybe on one side and additional cabinets as we need to. But to get started with the wizard, it wants you to start out with a basic style. So we'll choose the U-shape, which best matches our design. Once I've chosen the U-shape, it then wants to configure that U-shape, and I can orientate the appliances and the plumbing fixtures in that U-shape. So it gives me 4 different orientations of how it's going to situate them. And I'm going to choose this option right here. So it has my sink on one wall, my range on one wall, and my refrigerator on another. Next, it brings me into the Kitchen Builder Wizard's Theme Center, where I get to choose my materials. And all of the materials that you see here are all found in the list over here under Kitchen Builder Cabinets. Once we're done inserting this kitchen, I'll show you how you can add to this list right here by putting in more different styles over in this list as well. So in this list, all you have to do is find the style that best suits your design. So there's all different basic ones in our shipping catalog. And then again, I'll show you once we're done here how you can add to that and bring in some new custom styles as well. So I'll choose a style, and then I click Next. And then from there, it allows me to select the rotation. It gives me a little preview of what that kitchen's going to look like. And then it wants me to show how I'm going to insert it. So I'm just going to slide this off to the one side here. So with these different orientations, we know that our kitchen is coming down, over, up. So when I'm looking over these rotations, it's this orientation that Backsplash at, down, over, and up. So I would choose this rotation right here. Select it, and then I click Next. The last screen on our wizard is just asking you to make sure that you've made all of the choices that you wanted to make. This is your last chance and opportunity to hit back and change out any of the selections you may have made. When you hit Finish, a copy of that kitchen is going to attach to your cursor for you to insert. So I'm going to choose Finish. Then we see the general outline of the kitchen attached to my cursor. I'm going to move it into this lower left-hand corner and see how collision control grabs it. So as I move it in, it hugs it into that corner. I left-click just once, and then I move my cursor. I'm going to move it up so it's right up the top of that wall, and if I have my snap track on here, I can snap it to the end of that wall, and then I'm going to move it all the way over as well, so it's coming up against this wall. So I can move it up and over and snap to the edge of a wall. I left-click, and then it says, are you satisfied with this position? Did you maybe left-click when you didn't mean to? Did you want to retry putting in that general outline? I'm happy with my general outline, so I could hit yes, but if you ever do have to re-pick again, just hit no and allow you to pick again. So I hit yes, and then that general outline is replaced with the actual cabinets themselves and the plumbing fixtures and the appliances that I had specified when I was in that wizard. Each one of them are individual elements. So if I left-click on one of the upper cabinets over the sink, as an example, it'll highlight. And now I'm just going to hit the Delete key on my keyboard, and it gets rid of it. So I can select them, hit Delete key on my keyboard, and they're gone. So that's one way of customizing the cabinets. If I wanted to change any of the cabinets, so for example, on the right-hand side over here, right beside my sink, maybe I wanted a bank of drawers. I could select it, look at its properties, and just like when we were at the beginning of our webinar when we were changing the type, I could change this to be type 6. We can see the drawer units. I'll tell it that I want 3, and you can see them. Look at the appearance of the wood. See how it's kind of getting that appearance of repeating itself? We could go into the Appearance tab on our drawers, and we could remap how they're fitting. So we know that the height of them that we want is about 10 inches, and the width that we want is about 3 feet. So it can reorientate it, and I can move the wood down or up as I need to. We can also change the orientation so the grain is going one way. If I wanted it going a different way, the 90 degrees, I could change that. So see how you can customize the appearance of the wood itself as well. So I click OK. I'm going to rename this, auto-name it, Base Cabinet, and I can say with 3 drawers, so it'll look correct in my material list later, and I click OK. So now that's our 3-drawer unit. On the other side, if I had wanted to place my dishwasher here as an example, I can select it. Now, looking in our catalog, if I go down to our dark cherry, we have different ones here, single doors, bases. So if I ever wanted to do just a swap out and change maybe a style, I can. If I want to make that a different base as an example, I can do that. Or I can grab an entirely different unit as well. So if I came over here to my double door base cabinets, door only, I could choose any one of these to switch it with as well. Or just like we did before, we can double click on this base cabinet and change its information. I want to house inside this cabinet the dishwasher. So I want it to have the gable ends, and I want it to have the countertop, but I don't want anything in the middle. So I'm going to change it to type 1, so it's one big door, and then I'm going to tell it to lose the door. So it just becomes the open cabinet. From there, I'm going to go to this details page. It's here on the details page that I can change the toe spacing, the height and the depth. So if I wanted to bring the toe height down or if I wanted to change the depth of it to 1 to 1, I can do that so it's gone. So it absolutely just takes away the toe space. So I just have the box itself. And then with that box itself, that's where I can fit in our dishwasher unit. So I'm going to click OK. And now if we take a look, I'm going to go into my secondary look here. Here's our new kitchen that we're just outfitting. Here is our kitchen. There's our bank of drawers. And here's where I'm going to put my dishwasher. So with the dishwasher unit, I want it right in here. So I'm going to go back to my Interiors tab and grab on Appliances. When I do that and I grab in my small appliances and my dishwasher unit, see when I try to bring it in? It's not letting that dishwasher go into that housed unit because Collision's on. And Collision's seeing that I have the outline of that cabinet there already. It doesn't want to accept any other kind of object in there. So I'm going to left click to place that just in the floor here. And I'm going to rotate it to the right orientation so the drawer is out to the front, the door for the unit. And then I'm going to turn off Collision. Now with Collision turned off, I can freely move in this dishwasher and place it within that cabinet. With Collision still on, it wouldn't allow me to do that. Once I turn Collision back on, it's not going to move that dishwasher outside of it. It's been placed. I want it there, but I could never move it back in with Collision on. But now that I have it in there, you can see the cabinet faced around that dishwasher unit. Each one of our appliances are individual elements as well, so I can double click on them and I can change any information about them as well. So if I needed to change the width of the unit itself, so perhaps I was using a wider dishwasher, not just a generic 24-inch, I knew the exact width of this unit, and perhaps it was 2 foot, maybe 9 wide, then I can change it. And it will re-update itself as well. I can rename it, or I can type in a new name. So I can say 2 foot 9 dishwasher. And I've updated this one, so I can click OK. And now it's a 2 foot 9 unit. See how I can't move it? When it changes the width, it takes it from the middle and pushes it out both sides. But because Collision Control's on, it's not allowing me to move it over. So if I turn Collision off, to move it over, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit the left arrow key on my keyboard, and that will move it over in 1-inch increments. So I know I'm moving it over 1 inch at a time. So I can place in that dishwasher, customize it to be any size that I need, so I can match the design that I want to have for my clients and the appliance sizes that they're going to be using. Now it's time to place in our island. When we're placing in the island, I'm going to put the island right in around here. And when I'm placing it in, I know that I want a certain distance from the face of the cabinet here and a certain distance from here as well. To place that nice corner right in there, so I know exactly where it is, I want it to be exactly 3 feet over and 3 feet up. So that point is 3 feet over and 3 feet up from that corner. When I'm placing my cabinets, they just automatically attach to my cursor and I place them. So if I want them in an exact position, that's when I take advantage of the tools that you find under the Tools pull-down menu and Layout. There we have Line. So when I'm using the Line tool, I'm going to tell it that I'm going to left-click right in this corner, and I'm going to come up 3 feet. Typing in that distance, see in the very distance box at the very bottom of my screen? As I'm pulling up, I'm telling it I'm going 3 feet up. And then I'm going to pull over to the right. Oh, I pulled in the wrong direction there. Let me edit undo. So I was explaining that. I did one thing, and Tools, Layout, Line. From here, I'm pulling up, and I'm going to go up 90 degrees, 3 feet. And then I'm going to pull over to the right. And from here, I want to go over 3 feet as well, 3 feet. Right-click, Finish. The end of that line marks exactly where I want my cabinet to go for my island. So I'm going to place my cabinet, go over to my catalog panel over here. I see that I have some island bases. I'm going to grab this 36-inch island base, and then I'm going to move it so that it's attached to that corner. Left click, and then with collision turned on, left click, left click. So I get 3 of those right together. And they're 3 feet over and 3 feet from my cabinet faces. If I don't want the walls, the lines there, I can select them, right click and say delete, and just picking on those lines. If it's hard to select the line itself, I can turn off the visibility of everything but that line and get rid of it. And I would do that at the end of my design process. Now that I have the island placed, I'm going to take a look in our 3D view again. There's our island. If I want to match the same material from my cabinets to here, or if I wanted it to be an alternate material, that's when I would take advantage of this material paintbrush tool up here in the upper left-hand corner. This tool will allow me to quickly apply a new material finish. When I pick on that tool, the catalog panel to the right will update and show you materials. It has this tool here, the materials eyedropper, that I'm highlighted on right now. I'm going to pick on that materials eyedropper, and what it allows me to do is go out and take a sample of a finish that I've already used. So I'm going to take a sample of that countertop, and I find that it's marble 17. And then I say that I want to apply that to everything that's similar to this countertop. And then it puts it all the way through on top of here. I could do the exact same thing for my cabinet. Take a eyedropper of the cabinet material, and I find that it's my dark cherry cabinet, and then I tell it that I want it to apply it to everything that's similar. So I'm going through and changing up that cabinet. Okay, so I can move and change this cabinet itself. If I select one and tell it to select all similar, when I'm looking at the properties of them as well, that's another opportunity to update and change the material. So if I go to the appearance page, I can see I've got my dark cherry cabinet on the cabinet. We also have this recessed material. That's that light color that you're seeing in there. That's where I can say, let's change that material as well to be that dark cherry wood as well. And we'll do the dark cherry cabinet. So it's all the same material. Okay, click OK, and now it's all updated. A question that we get quite frequently into our technical support center is, what about custom countertop faces where it doesn't exactly match the cabinet itself? So what if I had a raised breakfast bar coming out here and it's on a radius, or just a free-floating piece of countertop material? How do I get that custom countertop material on top and around in here? Let's put it back into 2D, and I'll show you one of my very favorite tools back under the Building tab. Under the Building tab, we have this tool called the Surfaces material. The Surfaces tool allows you to put in a surface of any material that you want. It can be any thickness that you want it to be, and then we can change and edit the shape of that material as well. So I'm going to pick on Surfaces. And then in our catalog panel to the right, we'll see custom materials, and I've got countertop in there. Okay, so there's just a custom countertop material. And then from there, what I need to do is I need to pick points to show where I want it to start and stop each corner. So I'm going to pick a corner here, then I'm going to pick a corner up here, over here, and over here. So I'm just picking corners where I want that countertop to go. So I pick the countertop. I pick my first corner right here. Then as I pull up, again, I have the opportunity to use the distance command. How far back do I want this custom countertop to go off of here? I'm going to tell it that I want it to go 12 inches. Hit enter. There's 12 inches away. Then I'm going to come over here. This is where I'm going to take advantage of the Snap Track tool. You can see that Snap Track is turned on, and it allows me to put my cursor over top of a point that I want to line up with. I don't left click on that point. I just simply hover my cursor over top of it. And as I pull up, you'll see that dashed line letting me know that I'm perfectly in line with that point. I left click, and then I bring down and left click on that corner. Those are the 4 corners. I can right-click and tell it that I'm finished outlining that surface. When I've outlined that surface, then I tell it how far off the ground that surface is. This Define Surface tool can be used for roofs and other elements as well. So you can see you could even have it on a slope. But I'm going to retain that I want it on a 0 slope, and I want my upper point to be 42 inches, and that will automatically make my lower point 32 inches as well. But if I did want it on a slope, I could have 2 different values there. I click OK, and now this surface, this countertop material, is 42 inches off the floor in this square rectangular surface. By selecting it, left-clicking to select it, I can right-click. So we left-click to select things, and then by right-clicking, reveal the options that we have for that object. I can see one of my options is to curve it. So I'm going to select Curve. Moving my cursor on top of that blue square in the middle of that surface, I'm going to hold down my left mouse button, and I'm going to start pulling up. And as I pull up, you can see that it's going to have a radius to it. I draw your attention now to the bottom of my screen, where I can type in an exact radius if I had wanted one, or I can put in an included angle as well. So I'm going to tell it that I want it to be 2'4". Hit Enter, and there's the radius. Going back to my 3D view, we can see that raised, I'm just going to move this around so we can see it a little better, that raised breakfast bar area. Again, if I wanted to match that material, I could go to my Material Paintbrush tool. In the catalog to the right now, it shows Materials. I'll select my Materials Eyedropper tool. Again, take a sample of the countertop that's already there, and then use my applicator to put it on top and on the sides as well of my new countertop material. Okay, covered a lot of information there. How to bring in individual cabinets using our cabinet tool, how to use our Design Wizard tool for the kitchen builder so we can put the bulk of our cabinets in very quickly. And then once the bulk of our cabinets are in, how to customize those cabinets by just hitting delete on the keyboard as we highlight, or changing, and I'll just tilt this up a little bit further, changing the properties so that we can make one a bank of drawers, or one just a box outline so it can house our dishwasher unit. We also talked about using Tools Layout Line so that we can just map out on the floor where we want our island to reside, and the importance when putting in all of our cabinets of the collision tool down to the lower right so they don't collide and overlap the wall lines or each other as well. Now, when we were in the Design Wizard, it had a list of different cabinet choices available. And I showed you that in our list of cabinets, those are the ones that were appearing in this list down here, the Kitchen Builder cabinets. So how can we add in a new style to here so that we can have it in the list? Well, you can see that in this list, each one of these different styles, the antique white, the dark cherry that we used, the white beadboard shaker, each one of those has at least four different cabinets. Because when you're using the wizard to insert all of your cabinetry, it needs to have a definition for an upper. It needs the definition for a standard lower unit. It also needs a corner unit on the base and a corner upper unit. And when it's using the wizard, it's taking that standard unit and copying it as many times as it can. So every time it comes to a corner, it'll put in the same unit on the base and the bottom, and it'll keep using that same definition as many times as it can. So when you're creating a new style, you have to make sure that you have a base. You need to have the upper. You need to have the lower unit as well, the corners, and you can see all of those there. I'm going to come up here to File, Catalogs, and I'm going to go to the Library Manager. So File, Catalogs, Library Manager. That will bring up my library portion of my catalog, where it stores information. Here, this is where I can develop a new style for the Kitchen Builder Wizard. So if I go up to the very top and hit on Libraries, I can pull down and I can see Kitchen Configuration. That's where each of the different configurations are set. So here we can see the list name that was in part of our Kitchen Wizard Antique White flat panel. It has the element of our standard base, corner, upper corner, refrigerator, cooking, and sink. And then it has Antique White, and they have all the same elements. So if you want to add one in here as well, so I'm going to tell it we want to add a configuration. You'll notice that I need to then give it a name, so I'll say Sample Kitchen. And then down below, I'll need to configure the base standard, corners, and uppers. So once I'm highlighted on the base standard, I'll hit Select, and then I'll scroll up in my list here to different kitchen styles. So I'll go to kitchen base cabinets, door and drawer units. We'll use a double door 36-inch base, this one right here, as our standard. Then I'll go to my base corner, and I'll hit Select, and I'll scroll back up, and I'll choose my corners. So my corner cabinet, an L-shaped, and I'll use 36-inch again. Here's that new corner. Then I'll go to my upper, hit Select. So you can see it's just going through and selecting ones that you want to appear on the list. So I have my base drawer units, my uppers, all of that can all be created. So I've got my bases, and now I want my wall cabinets, my upper, double door, 24-inch, click OK, get that added in, and then it'll have all of these different options for it as well. So you can keep picking on those. That's my upper, selected the wrong one. Go back up to my uppers here, my 24-inch height, 30 by 24. It's going to be our standard. And then keep going as I select them and keep creating new units. And then I would pick my refrigerator, cooking, and everything as well. So let me just finish this off very quickly for us, going back up. Upper cabinets, upper corner, L-shaped. Just pick this one. I'll pick a refrigerator, highlight on the refrigerator. I'll select a fridge one here. I'll pick cooking. So you can see I can bring in your own custom blocks in here as well. So if you wanted it to be a particular unit, then you can. Electric range and our sink. It takes you right into the correct part of the catalog as well. So I'm going in to look at my sinks, and I'll have the single kitchen sink here. So here's all my elements. I click OK. It will save that sample kitchen as part of the configurations for the Kitchen Wizard when it goes to use it again. So when I go to use the Wizard, it knows that this is one of the available options that it has as its choice. So when I go to the Wizard, I won't insert the kitchen, but we'll go through the process kind of as a lesson with it as well. U-shaped kitchen, this orientation of the appliances and the plumbing fixtures, and then it brings me in here, and there is my sample kitchen now added into the list. Back in that library, if there was a kitchen here, a style, you would never use, back there you could delete them from this list as well so that they weren't one of the options. But I'll hit cancel there. A lot of information we covered today. So I want to make sure we leave lots of time for questions and answers. In the GoToMeeting console, which is probably running up the right-hand side of your screen, you can type in any questions that you might have about a kitchen and designing a kitchen in the software, and I'll be able to answer those live during our presentation. I'll go to those now, so never hesitate to answer a question, and I'll be able to show you how to answer them. In your example of the dishwasher cabinet, you left a 1-inch bottom. Yes, I did. I'm going to pull that one back up. When we're looking at the details here, I'm going to show the toe space again. This has to be some type of value here. So I could go down to 1/4 inch as the height and the width, but it can't be 0. It has to have a value there, so that if I leave that, if I try to put in 0, you can see it's going to go back to what I had before. So it has to have some unit there to show at the bottom. When you put your dishwasher in, it will hide the face of that. But because this is a box unit, it needs something on the lower face there. So the next question was, will it eliminate the bottom? But no, it'll be there, but your dishwasher will cover over top of that. When you placed the curved countertop on the island, there was no connection between the two counters. Yes, I didn't put in a countertop here. I put this one in at 42 inches, and this one is at 36. So if I wanted to show a connection there, I could do a number of things. The most popular way to do that is using a member, and I'm going to put this down into 2D to show you that. Use this member command. Another handy tool that I use quite a bit, like the surfaces tool, it can have any size, any material that you want it to, any shape as well with our member tool. So if I scroll down to the bottom here, you can see we have custom members, and we've got one here called Bulkhead that you could use for the bulkhead of a ceiling or bases. I'm going to right-click in here and say I'm going to copy this element, this bulkhead unit, that's 6 inches in its height and 1 foot 2 in its width. I'm going to change that because we want to go up 6 inches is right, but the width here, I want to make it 6 inches as well. So I'm just going to backspace that out and put 6. So it's 6 by 6. And I'm going to call this Backsplash. And it can have any appearance that I want it to have. So this 3D member right now, the bulkhead was drywall, but I'm going to pick here as material. I could make this tile, I could make this wood, anything that I want to. So I'm going to go up to our cherry wood and match that dark cherry cabinet that we've been using, saying that that's not normally used on a member. Are you sure you want to use it? And I'll say yes. And I'm looking at the mapping, and I want to change and rotate that mapping 90 degrees so it's running down the actual member itself. And then I click OK. So now I have a 6 by 6 member here that I'm going to pick and put in from here to here. When I do put in a member, it's always going to default it so that it's sitting at 0, the top face of it. So I'm going to tell it that the top face of this, we want it to the underside of here, is going to be at 41 inches because we have a 1-inch countertop. So I'm going to pick it from here all the way to here. Right-click, Finish. And when I go into our 3D view, we can see that sitting in there now, sitting on top of our countertop and underneath our top cabinet as well. So if you want to put something in there, a member can be used for any kind of purpose you want. I mean, these can have custom profiles to them. So if I know there's probably going to be a question up there about what about crown on the top of your cabinets? Well, this could have any kind of custom profile that you want it to have. And you could select that profile. And let me just pick in a crown or a crown profile here and have it look like that crown profile right up to the top, and left click at the top of your cabinets as well. Okay, next question. Scroll down in our list of questions. When we create a new kitchen configuration, are we able to add additional elements to a configuration? No. So what they're asking is when we created that new kitchen configuration, it allowed us to specify a range, a refrigerator, a sink, a base, an upper, and corner units. It won't allow you to say, oh, and now I'm going to add in a dishwasher. The configurations that it gives you are just those elements, and that's all it can put in at once. Is there a way to include the dishwasher in the Kitchen Wizard, or do dishwashers always have to be input into a cabinet? They have to be input separately. They don't have to be put into a cabinet per se either. We could have eliminated that countertop altogether. If I'm going to zoom in here and go close here. Another way of putting it, like we put the countertop over the custom island, we could have eliminated this cabinet altogether and not had the gable ends on either side, just deleted it out. You can see it leaves a hole here, but using that surfaces tool, I can draw in a surface in that area itself. So it's not a cabinet, but just the countertop material going over top of it and our dishwasher sitting in there. So that's an alternative way, so you don't have to use an actual cabinet in that space. Next question. How would you show a built-in refrigerator like a Subzero? I'm going to walk over here to our refrigerator. And just like we had the housing unit for our dishwasher, we can also do the same with cabinetry. That would be putting in like a Subzero that maybe had the wood face doors like that, or built into a cabinet itself. One of our cabinet choices that you'll see over in our catalog panel are pantry units as well. So when I look at pantry cabinets, I'll say a 96-inch height, 36-inch wide. Here's a pantry unit that we're going to put in. This pantry unit, just like I modified the look of our dishwasher cabinet, I can do the same here. I can say it's type 1, remove the door, so it's just a box unit. Go to that details page. Again, it'll have to have something of value in here, so you can type in a width and a depth here, but it will have to put some kind of bottom on it. But you get that box. And then from there, you can put your refrigerator in there. That would be the same for those of you that want built-in ovens. So you can have the basic one here. Maybe I want a drawer and a door. You can put in your built-in ovens above here and not on the top, whatever you need to do. So you can have that built-in oven pantry or a built-in refrigerator pantry as well, using these pantry options and leaving them empty on the internal. So with the member dialog, we can create custom shapes, sizes, flat panels, tall end jambs, whatever we need. That's great. And it's true. That member command can be used for custom backsplashes as well. So right now I don't have a backsplash, but that can be the property of a, oh, I'm seeing some people are seeing a screen delay. I'm going to hold up until everybody can see my screen and my mouse moving around. And it looks like everybody's got a connection right now. So here, when we're looking at the cabinet itself, I can say that I want to show a backsplash. That's going to be the same material that it's using on the counter. So if you don't want them to be the same material, you can leave it off. And then when it's off, again with the member command, because it's a custom, it can be any thickness, any height, any material, pick points and make one the width of your backsplash. So I'll put one as an example along this area right here. I'll create a backsplash here. I'm going to copy that element. I'm only going to make it, the height here will make it 2 feet. And the width of it, I'm going to make it 1/4 of an inch. So it's thin and tall. And as the appearance, I'm going to make it just a tile. So I'm going to scroll down and look at our tile options. I'll just go to a mosaic tile just so we can see it, and I'll use that very first one as an option. So here's our backsplash, and I'll say backsplash tile. Click OK. We know that we want it, the base of it to be up 5 feet. The top end of it here is where the base height is going to go. It's always at 0. We want it to be on top of our cabinet, which is 3 feet. Plus, I made this tile 2 feet tall, so we want it to be 5 foot. And I want it along the back edge here, so I'm just picking exactly where I want that to go from here, and I'll stop it at our corner unit there. So there is our backsplash that's in there. And when I go to a 3D view, we'll be able to see that backsplash in there. So again, another great use of a member. And go back to our questions. Can't see activity. Okay, I know some people were stuck in their view. I hope it caught up for you again then. How is a commercial cooktop added on top of the countertop? So let's put one in right in here. We'll use a cooktop on top here. So when we're looking at our interiors tab and we go to appliances, we can see that under our appliances, we will have a cooktop. Cooking ranges, stovetops here. So we have a 30-inch cooktop unit here. I'm going to put it down into 2D to place it. I always recommend when you're inserting something to make sure you're in a 2D view because you have your best accuracy. Now look what happens. I don't want to sit on that countertop. I'm going to collide. So I'm going to turn collision off, left click to place it, rotate it using this triangle to rotate it into the right position, and then move it over. When I look at the elevation of this, right now it's sitting at 0. So if I look in a 3D view, camera 2 here, it's sitting down there on the floor. So I want to tell it that I need to elevate that up to 3 feet. Hit apply, and there we can see it sitting on top of our countertop. If you are familiar with SketchUp, and perhaps you want to use some blocks you find out on SketchUp, maybe a custom, maybe you know the exact element, what it's supposed to look like. You don't want to just alter our block itself. So right here you can see how I can change the width, the depth, and give it that generic look. If you wanted it to be precisely what you had in mind, you can always go up to the Google 3D Warehouse. So I'm just going to go out to the internet right now. And I'm on our website, but I'm going to do a Google search for the Google 3D Warehouse. And when I do that search for the Google 3D Warehouse, it'll take me to the 3dwarehouse.sketchup.com. And in here, if I had wanted a particular range or refrigerator unit, so if I did a search on Subzero, it would bring me up all of the blocks, and I can download and use any of these custom blocks. So if I wanted this side-by-side unit right here, I can select it and then hit this download in the upper right. So I want to download this model, and I want to bring it in SketchUp 8 model format, and it's going to save the file to my downloads folder. So when I'm back in Envisioneer, I'm going to go to File, Import. I'm going to bring in an object. I'm going to call this my Subzero fridge to be quick. It's an appliance. I want to go out and select it. It's out of my downloads, and it is the Subzero. There it is. There's the block. I hit Next. I can reorientate it, so if I knew I wanted it to be rotated in a different manner, I can rotate it. And I can turn on and off the visibility of different things that are available. I think this looks good. Okay, next. I can create an outline. So when I see it in 2D, this is the outline that it's going to have. And then I hit Finish, and I bring in that Subzero unit. So here it is. If I wanted to add this in so I can use it in future projects, by coming up here to File, Catalogs, Save Element to Catalog, I can left-click on the refrigerator, and it'll say, hey, do you want to save Subzero to the catalog? I say yes. And then I say, no, I don't have anything else that I want to add. But if I look at my appliances right now, it'll be in my catalog as my list of appliances. So if I look at appliances, there I'll see my Subzero. So you can bring in any kind of custom cabinets as well. Okay, and then someone said, now it's working, yay. So everybody got to see everything from there. That is the last question that I had, though. So I'm going to keep that chat panel open for one further minute, just in case anyone else has a question that they're typing right now or that they just thought of. I don't want to end it off without answering everyone's questions. So type in any questions that you might have, and we'll answer them. Again, following the broadcast, I'm going to send you out an email. It will have a booklet that will cover all the information that we did go over in class so that you can read about the kitchen as well and all the different things that we've covered. So let me just take one last peek for questions. Yep, there's a couple more coming up right now. What about entering a 2020 design? So for those of you that are using 2020, how can you bring in the design or show or export out to 2020? So I'm going to zoom out here and go to this portion right here. So say we want in this room to create a kitchen, but we ultimately want to do it in 2020. I would come up to File, Export, and choose 2020 Design. Now, if you own Pro Architect, you won't see these options. These are only available in our Builder's Essentials and Construction Suite copies. So those of you with Pro Architect won't have the 2020. So I'll say 2020 Design. And then it says give it a name. So I'll say this is our test. And I'll hit Save. And then see how my cursor looks like a hand with a plus sign? It wants me to pick on all the walls that I want to export out. So I pick on this wall. I'll pick on this wall. I can pick on this wall. Whoops, let's see my ceiling instead, and this wall. So any walls I want to export out, I simply select, right-click, hit Enter, and then it'll say your export was successful. From there, those walls are imported into 2020. And you can use that wall layout to design your cabinets in 2020. When you're done in 2020, you come back up here to File, Import, and choose 2020 Design Import. It's going to ask you for the 2020 file, and I don't have one here. Well, here's our test. I'll hit Open, and it's saying this isn't a 2020 file. It knows it was my export, but you would pick the XML file that was created in 2020, and I don't have one, and then it would bring in all the cabinets that you did in 2020, so they'd be brought back in. So design the walls here, export them out to 2020, design the cabinets, and then bring them all back. When you're exporting the walls, if there's any windows, if there's any openings, it will see them in 2020, so you can avoid putting cabinets over windows and things like that as well. Great question. Next question. Can we apply any finishes to the block we brought in? Yes. So when we're looking at that Subzero refrigerator that I brought in, if I went to my material paintbrush and I said that I wanted to paint it so that it looks like any material in the catalog, so even brick or marble or whatever you wanted to do, or this finish right here on this cabinet, the appliance stainless steel that we had, I can repaint it to any material. So if I wanted to match the wood finish that I have on my cabinets, I can take a sample and it's going to say, hey, dark cherry wasn't intended for refrigerators. Are you sure? I'll say yes, and I can apply it to it as well. So yes, you can apply custom materials to the blocks that you bring in. Will this work with Cabinet Vision in the same manner as 2020? No. We don't have a direct link to Cabinet Vision. We will explore opportunities with them to see if that's a possibility as well. But right now, we only have a link back and forth with 2020. Okay, that seems to be all of our questions. But again, I'll hold it just in case that triggered maybe a question for someone else. And we can answer everybody else's questions as well. Okay, that does seem to be all the questions that are being posted up there. So I do want to thank everyone for taking the opportunity to watch today's webinar. it's a great opportunity for you to learn a little bit of information about the software every week. Today's kitchens, next week's a different topic, every week a new topic. They're all stored up in our archive, so you can continue to watch them and preview them again if you wanted to watch them over and over again to pick up on all the things that we did cover. So thanks again, everyone, for watching today's webinar. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a little bit about your software. Thanks, and have a great week. Bye-bye.